Hi folks, and welcome back to the channel. In this week's video I'm going to be testing this bridge camera and comparing the results I get with this Nikon DSLR. Stick around because you may be surprised with the results. Firstly, I just want to say that this was not a scientific test. The two trips were 3 years apart, albeit to the same location, but I think the findings are still relevant, and I think if you're considering either of these cameras, this video will be useful for you. So the story starts approximately 3 years ago, back in August 2017, when I took my son on a boat trip to the Farne Islands. I took along with me my trusty Nikon D3300 with the Nikon 55-200 VR lens. I was pretty pleased with the shots that I came away with, and I'll show you those now. So fast forward 3 years and we're taking that trip again, but this time I'm shooting with the Panasonic FZ82. To set the scene a little better, we're going to look at briefly the costs of each camera, and you can use that as a gauge to see whether you think that it's a better option to go with the Nikon or a better option to go with the FZ82. So to give a comparison, we're first going to look at the two cameras themselves. In 2020, the Nikon D3300 has been superseded by the Nikon D3500, and if you were to buy it at the same store I purchased my D3300, then it would cost you £449.99. Additionally, if you were to use the 55-200mm lens that I used, that lens, the f4 to 5.6 VR lens, would set you back £323.61. In all, that's a heady £773.60. So, how does the FZ82 weigh in at £289 compare? Surely the smaller bridge camera with smaller sensor and putting out less pixels can't really compete with the 24 megapixel Nikon. Or will the extra zoom range that the FZ82's got help it achieve better shots? So as I said earlier, this is not a scientific test. The 2 different days that we took the trips on, the first trip, whilst the weather conditions weren't what you'd call perfect, were a lot better than they were the second time around. The seas were a hell of a lot rougher this time, and also it was quite overcast. Despite the fact that the Farne Islands are just 2 miles off the coast of sea houses, it felt a lot longer taking the trip this time round. Coupled to the fact that everyone was required to wear a face mask, there were a few people on board looking decidedly queasy, to say the least. Once we got close to the Farnes, it was time to break out the camera. Like last time, I was on the lookout for photographs of the birds on the rocks and the seals on the low-lying areas. The rough seas did pitch the boat more noticeably this time round, and that made it harder to compose a shot, as you were constantly having to adjust for the boat pitching up and down on the waves. Of course, the more you zoom in, this pitching is magnified, and what was tending to happen was your subject would soon be at the top of the screen, and as it suddenly would drop and then backwards and forwards, and that was a constant difficulty this time round. Anyway, here are the images I managed to grab this year with the Panasonic FZ82. They were shot in RAW and processed in Photoshop using the RAW filters within that program. So how did the bridge camera with its smaller sensor but greater zoom cope? Well, in both instances, each camera was set up to use autofocus. Here I feel the Nikon has the advantage. The shots do look a little crisper, the details more sharp. The contrast-based focus setup on the FZ82 can't match the more expensive DSLR in this respect. Also, the Nikon has the upper hand in that the larger sensor can allow it to shoot at ISOs which are much higher, and in this instance most of those pictures I took with the Nikon were set at ISO 800. This allowed me to shoot at 1/1000th of a second with an f-stop of 5.6, and this was all the way to the maximum zoom of 200mm. Despite the FZ82 not being able to match the Nikon's high ISO capabilities, it does have the advantage of having that zoom reach that the Nikon's 200mm just couldn't match. You could, however, argue that because the Nikon packs in 24.2 megapixels and the Panasonic is only putting out 18.1, then you do have the potential to crop in on those images produced by the Nikon. So I think it's fair to say that we can agree that the Nikon does take better images, but that comes in at a cost. So the FZ82 does come in at less than half the price of that Nikon D3300 with the 55 to 200mm lens option on top, and that is a massive saving which could certainly sway your choice as to which camera you want to buy. I'll let those photographs I showed you earlier make your mind up, but I think there is a massive saving to be made going for the bridge camera, and if you value convenience of carrying a single camera over DSLR and several lenses, then I think perhaps the bridge camera is for you. If you want to go all out for a better result, then obviously I think the Nikon is the obvious choice. So as I said, the choice is yours. Do let me know in the comments below which way you would spend your money. If you think the Nikon is worth the extra over the all-rounder all-in-one bridge camera, yeah, let me know your preference. Please leave your thoughts, and yeah, I'll enjoy reading those and commenting and discussing further. If you'd like to watch more videos on the FZ82, then check out these videos on screen right now. And for Nikon users or Nikon fans, watch this space and we'll be doing more videos on the D3300. Thanks for watching, and see you again next time.